Welcome to Season 5 of the Agile Brand with Greg Kihlstrom, where we talk with enterprise and technology platform leaders about the people, processes, and platforms that make marketing and customer experience successful, scalable, and sustainable. This is what creates an Agile brand. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom, advisor and consultant for Fortune 1000 marketing and CX leaders and teams as principal and chief strategist at GK5A, and best-selling author, keynote speaker, entrepreneur, and Agile certified coach. The Agile Brand podcast is brought to you by TEKsystems, an industry leader in full-stack technology services, talent services, and real-world application. For more information, go to teksystems.com. To sign up for the Agile Brand newsletter and get the latest insights and articles on marketing technology and CX, or to purchase a copy of my latest book, House of the Customer, go to gregkihlstrom.com. You can also find all my books on Amazon and other retailers. And now on to the show. Today we're going to talk about doing digital experimentation well and what this means in terms of your platform choice and the way you approach experimentation as a marketing team. To help me discuss this topic, I'd like to welcome Dejean Brown, Principal Product Evangelist at Optimizely. Dejean, welcome to the show.
Thank you, and good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to talking about this with you. And before we get started, though, why don't you give a little background on yourself as well as what you're currently doing at Optimizely?
Sure, yeah. So my name is Dejean Brown, and I've been in this space for a little time now. My background is actually in mathematics and actuarial science with a parlay into marketing a few years back, and now working as a principal product evangelist for Optimizely, where I'm a subject matter expert on web experimentation and feature experimentation, and making sure we're getting the most value out of all those tools and kind of preaching who we are at Optimizely and the value that we bring.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, so let's dive in here. We're going to talk about digital experimentation, what we mean by that term, as well as what the key features of a digital experimentation platform should be. So let's start with the definition to make sure everybody listening fully understands what we mean by digital experimentation platform. Can you define that for us?
Sure, yeah. So typically what you'd hear is a digital experimentation platform, or a DXP. And what that really is just a set of core technologies that support the building, the composition, the management, delivery, and optimization of digital experiences, just to keep it short.
Yeah. Great. So what are some of the key features of a platform like this? And can you provide a couple use cases maybe of how it can be used?
Yeah. So a digital experimentation platform, as it's said in the definition, we help to manage the composition, management, delivery, and optimization of your experience. So what's included in that would be a WYSIWYG editor maybe, or something on your front end where you're optimizing the look of your buttons, you're optimizing the wording on your front end, you're beginning to test and run experiments of what it looks like as individuals come to your website. So we're beginning to enhance the experience and generate that ROI as a company by optimizing what it looks like on the front end. And then with Optimizely, also doing a lot on the back end and the features that we put out as well. That's kind of really what a digital experimentation platform is and what it can do. Some of the basic features that you would see is A/B testing, multivariate testing, being able to test the different locales that someone may come from, and being able to test a completely different experience based on each individual that visits your site. That's some of the things that we can do from a digital experimentation platform as well. We can manage the content on your website, as well as the things that are delivered in your features on the back end. But there's a ton that we can go into there. But that's just a couple of use cases and just a little bit of color around what are some of the key features of a digital experimentation platform.
Got it. Yeah. So when digital experimentation is working well, I know you mentioned a few use cases, but what does it allow marketing teams to do? Maybe from a strategic level and things like that.
Yeah, digital experimentation allows marketing teams to drive the right decisions in their company. So when you're experimenting well online, you can drive ROI. Marketing teams can now put a science behind marketing. And historically, that's something that is hard to do or has been hard to do. But with a digital experimentation platform, you can hypothesize as a company, you can hypothesize as a team, and really test out those ideas. And once you're able to test those ideas at speed and at scale, you can make decisions quickly. And when you're able to make decisions quickly, you can drive ROI and really the value that it brings. For some customers and some use cases, we have individuals that have experimented on the front end with just wording change and color change and have driven a 65% improvement in conversion. So there's a lot that can be done, a lot of dollars that can be made, a lot of learnings that can be had. Really, what can't a digital experimentation do for a marketing team? It allows them to do quite a bit and really make informed decisions. That's really the be all and end all. You will make the right decisions at the right time when you're experimenting well.
Great, great. Yeah. And so we're gonna get back to and focus a little more on the process side of things in a minute. But I did want to, because of the timing and the airing of this show, I did want to get to another topic here that I know is probably top of mind for a lot of marketers out there. So, as of the airing of this show, there's only about 2 weeks left for those that are either still using Google Optimize or Google Optimize 360, another experimentation platform, before they are both retired. So we're recording this a few weeks prior, but when the show airs, there's still a little time, but not a lot of time, to make some decisions here. But Google Optimize, a little more basic in its functionality than Optimizely always is and was. But as a principal product evangelist at Optimizely, I'm sure you might have a recommendation of what some that are currently using Google Optimize might to consider. Why does something like Optimizely make sense as a next step for Google Optimize users?
Yeah. So if someone was working on Google Optimize, Optimizely one, we have all the features that you'd have at Google Optimize. All the things that Optimize allowed you to do, Google Optimize allowed you to do, we can do that. And we can support whatever work is currently being done with Google Optimize. Now, what we can also do is a lot more. We are the inventors really of this space. We've been in the game the longest. We own experimentation. We own that digital experimentation landscape. There's a reason why we are number one. And we can offer them quite a bit more from a performance perspective, from accuracy through stats engine, web and product testing in one platform. So we can allow them to dive deeper into testing. If Google Optimize was their first step in getting their feet wet in regards to experimentation, we can help them truly begin to take off and truly swim where experimentation is concerned. There's a lot of powerful integrations we can help and add to that. And really, just from a knowledge-based perspective, we are a digital experimentation laboratory. We have over 2 million experiments ran. So in regards to a knowledge base and knowing the right decisions to make and the right experiments to run, we can help with that a lot more than any competitor can in that space, just because we've been doing it the longest and we have that amount of experience on our teams here.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, I know of Optimizely, to your point, you really it was one of the first movers in that space. And certainly with the adding the CMS component with Epi and all that stuff more recently makes it a really a full featured stack there all around as well. So for those, you spoke a little to those that are currently using something like Google Optimize. Again, a little more limited feature set, but a pathway to using something like Optimizely. For those maybe more experienced marketers out there that have had exposure to platforms beyond a free tool like Google Optimize or Optimize 360, how does Optimizely set itself apart from maybe some of the other competitors that may be a little more sophisticated than Google Optimize?
Yeah. So aside from some of the reasons I already mentioned, in that we do have the most experience, we have the most knowledge, and we can provide the best path and direction in regards to experimentation. Our tool in general is that much better as well from a performance perspective. We pride ourselves on performance without compromise. We allow you to run experiments at scale with speed. We pride ourselves on accuracy through our stats engine, and that's really a value prop for us as well. You're not going to find the performance that we have. You're not going to find stats engine elsewhere either. And we allow you to test both on web as well as on your features. So we're a one-stop shop where that's concerned, allowing both your development teams and your web teams and marketing teams to be happy, all within one platform. We test and personalize experiences. That's something that Google Optimize couldn't do, and some of our competitors don't do well either. Is being able to really dive into those unique combinations of experiences that you can provide to your different customer cohorts. So there's a lot that can be done there, and a huge value prop for us as well is with our experimentation. We also have experimentation collaboration, which is huge, especially at that enterprise level. It allows enterprise companies to really work together as a team to help grow the culture of experimentation. And that's something no competitor has. So even if you've been looking around to other competitors and really doing research in the market, that's something you will not find with our competitors. So it's a strong value proposition for Optimizely and what we can provide. And it really allows the teams to grow their community of collaboration internally and work together to begin that experimentation journey.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit more about the collaboration piece in a second, but just one thing for maybe for those that are a little less familiar. You mentioned Stats Engine
Yeah.
as certainly a powerful component. Do you mind just defining that, like what it does or what it is, and so those listening can understand a little better?
Yeah. Stats engine allows you to get to statistical significance that much faster, but also be able to rely on those as results. So real-time sequential statistics to deliver accurate results fast. So you're examining experiment status live without incurring peak errors, which means that given sufficient traffic, you can reach statistical significance within hours on some experiments, which is something many can't do, and definitely our competitors can't do, based on the way they model versus how we model, in that we use a sequential t-test model that allows us to bring you value early within the process and really get to statistical significance faster. And obviously, you're getting to a decision faster allows you to get to the next experiment faster, and getting to the next experiment faster allows you to get to ROI that much faster as well.
Thanks for listening to the Agile Brand with Greg Kihlstrom podcast. I'd like to introduce you to a brand new podcast that I think you'll love. It's called The Innovation Economy. And on it, myself and my co-hosts, Adam Chen and Bonnie Habian, look at the factors that drive business growth, including how people, processes, platforms, and places work together to create the future of work. This includes talking with changemakers at large organizations that we call entrepreneurs, as well as how engaged employees can leverage their personal brand and superpowers to support their company, secure their own future, and create unprecedented value for the business, as well as with those working to create the innovative places where tomorrow's leaders will live and work. You can listen to the latest episodes on this platform or wherever you access your favorite podcasts by searching for The Innovation Economy. And you can go to www.innovationeconomy.show, that's innovationeconomy.show, to access the latest episodes, show notes, and more. Now let's get back to the show. So let's get back to, I wanted to talk a little bit about process and collaboration. So, getting back to best practices and experimentation, having the right tool is certainly a key component, but also having the right process and the right teams and the right way of working is certainly critical. So, assuming that a team has a good digital testing platform, something like Optimizely, What should marketing teams do from a process standpoint to be most successful when they're engaging in experimentation?
Yeah, so I would begin with the process of documenting. If they already have a platform and they're beginning the process, or they've already started the process on another platform, to be most successful, I would begin with beginning documenting the processes they currently have. As you begin to document the things you've been doing, documenting the tests you've ran, or even writing down those hypotheses and things you want to test, you can begin to hone in on those tests that are really going to matter. And once you're able to do so, you can more accurately begin to experiment. So the process of experimentation begins well before the actual experiment. And I would say beginning the process of documenting what you have, what you're thinking, laying it down, getting that feedback, and then really isolating those experiments that will give you the most value the quickest would be the first thing I think to do.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think is something that's maybe the most overlooked, or at least overlooked, when preparing to be successful in experimentation? What do teams often miss?
Yeah, I think a little bit of what I just spoke of,
Yeah,
actually, that process of truly understanding what you want to test and how you want to test is something that is overlooked, and at the highest level, which some may see as alarming, but it is true. Really knowing the right test to do is something that is not seen all the time,
yeah,
unfortunately. But I do think that is one of the things that are most overlooked. And I guess close in line with that is making sure that the tests you're running resonate through your organization. I know as a marketing team, sometimes you may operate in silos, but I it would do well to connect and bring in other organizations if you can in regard into the experimentation process, so that you're making those decisions and testing those things that drive the needle, not just only on your direct KPIs, but at the company's KPIs as well.
yeah, yeah. And so marketing teams are certainly being asked to do, I would say, do more with less, but also do more with more, right? We're living in an omni-channel world, and it's not just testing a website often now. It's taking an omni-channel approach to content creation, to personalization, and then to their testing as well. How does all this multi-channel or omni-channel approach impact how teams should look at testing and experimentation?
Yeah. So one thing does, it grows the team. So
Yeah.
now it's not just sitting within the marketing department. Now testing really does have to include many areas of your organization. It has to include not only marketers, it includes developers, it includes content creation side of the company. It includes many different teams, and this impacts your testing in many different ways. You'll have a lot more complex tests, a lot more complex experiments at times, which things as Google Optimize may not have been able to support. But in tools like a digital experimentation platform like Optimizely, we can help control and manage all areas of your organization and really hit that omni-channel approach. And with something like experiment collaboration, you can pull in all areas and let everyone give their input. And when everyone is giving their input and we're getting to a specific goal and a list of experiments that matter from an omni-channel approach, or that matter across these teams, you'll have a more quality experiment, and that complexity begins to not look as complex when working together as a team and beginning to test on multiple different areas. But with experimentation in general, that's the value. If you think of, you can run an experiment anywhere. So even though there might be more to consider with tools that allow you to optimize and clearly identify the paths that you should take, it's not as hard. And I definitely would encourage people to think that process through and think about making sure that with omnichannel includes involvement of more than just you or the experimentation area or the marketing team, involve others, and the process gets a little easier.
Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you also about, you mentioned the collaboration aspect. And so, when you talk about that, I picture like the Google Docs equivalent of like, we're all in the same doc and making comments and doing all that. Can you talk a little bit, like, what does it look like, to actually be collaborating on an experiment together?
Yeah, it actually, to me, one of the coolest features we have, actually, it's it looks like, so if we take a step back, because we're a platform that's more than just experimentation, we have a product, our CMP product, that allows teams to manage the full cycle of experimentation. So what experimentation collaboration is exactly this. You have a team or multiple teams that begin to hypothesize on tests that they would like to run. Those tests are in one area where everyone can review within the platform and say yes or no, or kind of vote on which one is the best one to do. And once your ideas are kind of ranked and pushed into an hypothesis, those hypotheses are things that we can begin to test. And it's connected with our experimentation platform, so that you can say, all right, these are the list of tests that I have to have, and these are the experiments that I'm going to run. So it allows you to collaborate with your full organization or whoever you put into the experiment collaboration tool to make the right decisions, to run the experiments that matter to your company. It really is a valuable tool, especially at that enterprise level where you have many people that have oversight. You can control toggle on and off the permissions from different individuals. You can do a lot with experiment collaboration. It really truly allows you to experiment at scale, and not just at scale from the point of view of people that come to your website, but at scale from the point of view of having a lot of people involved in a large company that's trying to move fast and experiment well. And this is something our competitors don't have. So it's a very, very strong tool that I'm very fond of, actually.
Yeah. I love it. Well, Dejean, thanks so much for joining the show. I got one last question before we wrap up here. So those listening today, they've heard a lot of great advice already, a lot of great insights. If you had one piece, one thing for them to take away from this, that advice about what they can do today to make a first or maybe a next step towards improving their digital experimentation approach, what would that be?
Yeah, shameless plug here. Call Optimizely. So, but
you are the product evangelist, so yeah,
right. But definitely, other than that, just begin to put down on paper and really get together those ideas and thoughts that you have around experimentation, and think through the value that you can bring for your company if you're able to begin those tests and run those experiments. And then I'd say call out Dejean for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again. I'd like to thank Dejean Brown, Principal Product Evangelist at Optimizely, for joining the show. You can learn more about Dejean and Optimizely by following the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening to the Agile Brand with Greg Kihlstrom podcast, brought to you by Tech Systems. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe on your podcast channel of choice and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can access more episodes of the show at www.gregkihlstrom.com. That's GregKihlstrom.com. To get a copy of my latest book, House of the Customer, visit my website, or you can find it on Amazon or other retailers. The Agile Brand is produced by Missing Link, a Latina-owned, strategy-driven, creatively fueled production co-op. From ideation to creation, they craft human connections through intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Until next time, stay agile.